Yeah, hello everyone, Nervin Reacts here, and welcome back to another video. So it's been a while since we've done this, but we're reacting to another history video, because Extra Credits slash History has just released a new series, Henry Ford, the boy who hated horses. This is gonna be really interesting, because I really love Extra Credits' style of presentation and the art style. Pretty cool and entertaining. Okay, let's go.
1896, Edison Company Annual Conference, Coney Island, New York. The electricity men sit around the table, talking about transportation. This engineer, teases one Edison employee, has built a quadricycle run by gasoline. Everyone then turns toward that young engineer, including the man at the head of the table, Thomas Edison. Is it a four-stage combustion? Asks Edison. The engineer, a young Henry Ford, breaks into a sweat. He's extremely nervous, and rightfully so. After all, Edison is an electricity man, and likely favors electric vehicles. But still, Ford gets up and presents to Edison, sketching out his engine while explaining the combustion process. How gas is an improvement over electricity because batteries are far too heavy and drain in cold weather. Then suddenly, mid-conversation, the old man rises and slams his hands down on the table. You've done it! He's just convinced Edison that
Like I said before, I really love the presentation style. It's really gets you intrigued, you know? And in regards to Henry Ford, a lot of people don't know and have the misconception that Henry Ford invented the car slash automobile, but that's just entirely false. The first ever automobile was invented by Carl Benz in around the 1880s, if I remember, or I don't really remember the timeline, but it was around the late 1800s. So yeah, it was two small wheels in the front and two big wheels in the back. So yeah. Like I said before, Henry Ford didn't invent the car. He just took what's it called, the findings and research of other car companies so as to improve the car industry. That's what he did.
That the future will be gasoline-powered, and it is Henry Ford who will assemble that future at the rate of one car every 93 minutes. Thanks so much to Henson Shaving for modernizing how I keep my face smooth. Here's an eye-opening thought. Henry Ford was born just after the Battle of Gettysburg and lived to see the beginning of the Cold War. Of course, in that span of time, the world changed in almost unbelievable ways, often as a result of his own innovations, and not always for the better, as we'll discuss in future episodes. Later in life, Ford would become almost painfully nostalgic for the era of his childhood, and spend millions building open-air museums of its buildings and artifacts, among which is an unassuming farmhouse, painstakingly furnished to the smallest detail, even with the drawers curated so they contained the precise objects he remembered it. It was the house of his childhood, and despite this aforementioned nostalgia, also a house he had hated.
Why would he go so? If that's so, then why would he go so much into recreating it? Why? If I were him, I would never do that. I'd want to get. If I hate something, I'd try to do everything in my power to forget it. But the sad truth is, the things that we hate the most are often the ones we tend to not forget.
Henry Ford's father had fled Ireland during the Great Famine and settled on a farm in Dearborn, Michigan. His mother was a second-generation immigrant from Belgium, raised by Irish neighbors when she was orphaned. And despite his parents' hardscrabble stories, they'd become successful and prosperous farmers. So, though not wealthy, young Henry Ford was never truly poor. There was always enough work to go around, which actually turned out to be a problem for young Henry because, man, he hated farm work. It was repetitive, physically taxing, and isolating. He despised horses, calling them dangerous and ill-tempered, and found
I honestly agree. I hate physical and manual labor, especially if it's out in the sun. If I'm going out in the sun, I'm wearing sunblock, a very large hat, and I'm tin clothing and an umbrella. I am not going out. And if I'm going out there, it better be for a good reason.
Drinking milk repulsive. He even considered chicken meat unfit for human consumption. Not
the milk part, I agree with him, because though I do drink milk sometimes, sometimes I often have to force myself to drink milk, because it doesn't taste that good to me. If I'm gonna drink milk, I'm gonna want like chocolate milk or strawberry milk. Basically sweetened milk, not normal milk, because that, honestly, I can't stand the taste, which is why I only drink it in small doses, like a quarter of a cup. But as for the chicken meat, I disagree. I love chicken.
Not to mention, young Ford was infamous for shirking his farm duties. About an hour into each day's work, Henry would usually go back to the house for a drink of water and then disappear. They'd find him later taking apart someone's watch. Now, most farmers of the time would have punished this behavior, but Ford's parents, his mother especially, indulged him. They set up a workbench where Ford could tinker and bought him tools. Still, his father's expectation that Ford one day would take over the farm strained their relationship, especially after Ford's beloved mother died when he was 13. That was one of two big changes that happened in Ford's early life. The other, when he first...
You know, a lot of the time when we look at great individuals such as this, and we hear their mother or significant parent has died when they were at a young age, it really changes them and how they are as a person. Take a look at Henry VIII. His mother, the loss of his mother has caused him to become to have paranoia. Adolf Hitler, when his mother died, he became more and more indulged into the Aryan is better and Jews are worse ideology, and Joseph Stalin beaten up by dad, etc., etc. You get the point.
Saw the engine. Fall 1875. Henry was helping his father bring in the harvest when they see it coming down the road atop 4 wheels. A portable traction engine, meant to be hooked up to threshing machines or sawmills to power them. And in a clever innovation, the machine is self-propelled. There are chains leading from the engine to the cart's rear wheels, so when the motor runs, the cart rolls slowly along the dirt road. Ford immediately stops the engineer and bombards him with questions. Who makes the machine? How fast can it go? How big is the boiler? Henry is 12, and he's just glimpsed a future where not only the tedium of farm labor can be eased.
The world-famous flame-grilled burger. Burger King Whopper. Hungry yet?
But where he can leave this farm behind on motor-driven wheels. That moment never left him. 4 years later, at 16, he convinced his father to let him move to Detroit to find an engineering job. In an act just pregnant with meaning, the man who would help revolutionize American transportation actually had no choice but to walk the 9 miles to the city. Detroit was another world when compared to his father.
Oh god, imagine how tiresome that would be. Like, I get to like running or jogging a few kilometers, swimming a few kilometers, but miles? Jeez, people of the past really were built different.
Farm, one where there was plenty of work for a wannabe machinist.
But then again, he was a farmhand, so he's probably used to physical stuff, so yeah.
Especially one like Ford, who was socially adept, confident, and willing to exaggerate his experience a bit. For the next decade, Ford worked a string of jobs, building his knowledge base and his reputation as a skilled machinist. He sought out roles where he could learn and experiment. Those that had stores of older equipment he could try out and examine, or that included large amounts of downtime where he could mess around with the parts he occasionally pilfered from his workplace. And apart from a basic business course, this was Ford's education. His formal schooling had stopped at 8th grade and contained little that would prepare him for an industrial career. Though, that doesn't mean it didn't shape him. Back in his school days, Ford's teachers instructed directly from readers, a form of early textbook that taught an uncritical ethos of American progress and capitalist economics that Ford deeply internalized while also containing some pretty blatant anti-Semitism. Wait, did you see that cloaked figure? Oh my gosh, it's the Foreshadow! The Foreshadow knows. Ford hopped jobs when he'd learned all he could, and his skills progressed quickly. By 19, when he circled back to his family farm to work a Westinghouse steam engine for a season, he was adept enough to get hired by Westinghouse to fix similar machines. And repair was his favorite type of job. It used his problem-solving abilities while giving him large blocks of time to tinker. And tinker he did.
Good for him. From farm boy to middle class, but then again he was never truly poor, but still, you get the point.
Mostly with motors. He repaired an internal combustion engine, which helped him see the potential of gasoline, and even built a miniature model engine. His greatest accomplishment, though, was convincing a family friend, Clara Bryant, to marry him. She did so with the knowledge that she wouldn't really see him much. He worked 16-hour days, but they matched each other well. She listened when Ford talked about his experiments, and had seemingly endless reserves of patience. Case in point, on Christmas Eve 1893, Clara...
Wow. I don't even think I have that kind of patience. I don't think I know anyone with that kind of patience. Good for him for her finding such a wonderful wife.
Had her hands full preparing a dinner for guests while also watching their 6-week-old son, Edsel. But then in comes Henry with his new gasoline engine, plopping it on the sink, and asking her to feed it gas as he turned the crank to make it run. Now, Rob, who is married, has some advice. Never do this, particularly when there are knives within easy reach. Clara, however, gamely served as assistant. Just like she put up with the constant house moves, the job changes, and the very strange things going on in the back shed. Thankfully, by 1891, Ford had a steady position at the Edison Illuminating Company of Detroit, repairing the engine that powered much of the city's lighting. That was just for money, though. His experiments were increasingly centered around internal combustion engines, which were sometimes known by the incredibly metal name explosion engines. In 1885, German engineer Gottlieb Daimler had demonstrated how one could power a vehicle, what we would call today a motorcycle.
Is that what the first motorcycle looks like? Surely it's not colored gold or whatever. I'm gonna have to check that out on the internet later.
But the field was so new, no one knew what to call anything. In fact, the first ever car race in the United States, held in 1895, also included a contest to name these new vehicles. People called them many things, some still familiar, others strange, ranging from horseless carriage to gasoline wagon to motor carriage, motocycle, or auto carriage.
Wait, I wanna check out the names.
Carriage to gasoline wagon to motor carriage, motocycle, or auto carriage.
Horseless carriage now. Gasoline wagon. Makes sense, but not as catchy. Motor carriage sounds catchy, and you can kinda get to the meaning. Motorcycle, nice, and auto carriage. I think I'd go with motor carriage.
Of course, we know that the French term automobile, meaning self-mobile, ultimately won out, but that took time. And if you'll notice, those names we listed showcase kind of a split. Half of the terms refer to wagons and carriages, where the other half refers to bicycles. Ford's work fell in the later camp. Starting out with the body of a cart or a carriage made it too heavy, he reasoned. Better to upscale a bicycle with its light spoke wheels and rubber tires, then put a carriage seat on it. That's what he did for years in his shed, crafting a vehicle he called the Ford Quadricycle, the car he would describe to Thomas Edison. But now, it's June 4th, 1896, and he is done testing. Unable to wait for the seat carriage he ordered to come, Ford decides to take his first drive on the quadricycle at 3 in the morning when the streets will be empty, watched by a bleary-eyed Clara and Edsel. He begins to push it out of the shed, but
I can only imagine her frustration and annoyance. Having to wake up so early in the morning while taking care of an infant.
But then suddenly stops. Oh no. There's a variable he never accounted for, despite 2 years of testing. It's too big to fit through the door. Not to worry. Ford hacks through the door frame with an
Please tell me how that's real.
axe. Then once freed from the prison shed, he mounts his vehicle, starts
Oh my gosh, it really is real. I gotta do this.
through the door. Not to worry. Ford hacks through the door frame with an axe. Then once
I don't know why, but I love this.
freed from the prison shed, he mounts his vehicle, starts the ethanol engine, and puts it into first gear. The cycle begins to move. The 4-horsepower engine speeding him along as he turns off the alley into the street at a sweet 10 miles an hour. A friend rides ahead warning traffic. He shifts into second gear, 20 miles an hour. Henry Ford is driving his first vehicle, but within the year, he'll
I can only imagine the thrill and happiness he felt at that moment.
sell it because he had a vision of a better model. A car that can not only enter the next great American motor race, but a car that can win it, which would eventually set in motion a level of innovation and precision manufacturing of high-quality products that could be produced on a scale to keep them affordable.
Oh, it's time. Oh, it's the ad. Anyway, if you want to check out the ad, go ahead and check out Extra History's channel, because I'm not really fond of watching ads. So go check them out yourself if you want to watch it to the end. But anyway, yeah, this was really interesting. I love it. Sorry if I didn't give that much commentary, because I don't really know that much about Henry Ford, other than the basics, how he revolutionized the car production industry. So yeah. Anyway, if you like this video, please hit the like and subscribe. Check out my Facebook page, link is in the description, and so will the link to the original video by Extra Credits. Go check them out, they deserve it. Anyway, that's all for today. I'll see you guys next time. Bye!